Skiing has always been about freedom and the mountain itself. But in the last decade, something unexpected has crept into that experience. Tracking apps. Whether you use them religiously or have never opened one, they've quietly changed the way we ski. Join us today as we take a closer look at how tracking apps have shaped the sport with hardly anybody noticing. So yeah, this video is a little bit different. I'd like to start off with a hot take. While it has both upsides and downsides, the widespread use of tracking apps has a more negative effect than it has positive. Please understand this video is coming from someone who has never used a tracking app, but has watched his friends turn from tranquil mountain goers to reckless speed demons just by installing a simple app. There's a lot of nuances here, but try to keep an open mind, and then you can have at me in the comments once you've watched the full video. Now look, it seems like in every corner of the internet ski scene, you can find somebody complaining about the slow zones and yellow jackets, the mountain safety people who sit in the middle of the trail and yell at you, stop you, or in extreme cases, take your pass away. They're there just to make sure everybody's safe, and while it may sometimes seem indiscriminate, take a listen to what this member of Keystone's team had to say. Apologies for the poor audio, I didn't have a mic with me, as it was an impromptu conversation.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, but I'm wondering, so how do you determine what's too fast?
We're looking at control. We're looking at how many people are around. If you're skiing extremely faster than everybody else is moving down the mountain, we're going to try to slow you down. Because we have people that are brand new beginner skiers and are not going to make the big change.
Okay. Awesome.
So what I'm trying to do is like, and it makes it a lot easier as soon as we open up more mountains. This is all we have open. It's like in the skiing zone, it's not that I don't think you could drive at 100 miles an hour. We don't know what those kids are going to do in that skiing. So kind of what's happening here is, like this lady right here, she's all by herself. She can ski. We're not going to slow her down too much. All these, there's not a good example yet, but all of a sudden you're going to see a group of people coming down and somebody's flying, and you don't really know how everybody else is going to do what everybody else is going to do in front of you. So we're trying to stop the big people.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I appreciate you guys' work.
As you heard, their entire job is to stop the big collisions. But why? Why is it even necessary to have an entire department solely responsible for preventing something that honestly shouldn't ever be an issue? At the end of the day, it all comes down to one simple thing: speed. The Colorado Sun ran an article in April 2024 investigating the trend of crashes over the 5 years prior. While it was extremely difficult for them to put numbers on items due to the ski industry's surprising failure to disclose injury data, it was made very clear that skier collisions, injuries, and other safety concerns are on a massive uptick. Of course, many will point to the higher visitation numbers that have coincided with the higher injury numbers. However, I'd like to then turn to the fact that the higher visitation leads to longer lift lines, but skier density can only get as high as the hourly capacity of a hill, which for the most part hasn't changed overwhelmingly much over the past few years. Furthermore, I personally have noticed higher numbers of mountain safety, which, when coupled with the nature of the resorts to want to decrease all possible costs, such as unneeded personnel, is evidence of a greater safety risk that they recognize. Sure, there are no numbers, but the signs are all there. Snow sports are getting more dangerous. So, we've established that snow sports are becoming more dangerous, but what exactly is behind that? Well, it's far from the only reason. Here, my friends, is where I introduce the modern skiing agenda, a little statistic called vertical feet. If you ask somebody who skied in 1970 why they did it, they would probably say something combining the adventure, escape, and status of it. Nowhere in there is anything about beating their friends, and there's certainly going to be nothing in there about beating random strangers. See, over the past decade, we've seen a rise in tracking apps, of which some of the most notable are Ski Tracks, Slopes, Strava, and just the Epic app. They track stats you collect while spending a day on the mountain, including your speed, the number of runs you complete, and, most notably, the number of vertical feet you ski. At their very core, these apps represent a gamification of the skiing experience, and for many, that makes them competitive. Along with the rise of these apps, we've seen a corresponding increase in leaderboards and other rankings. These digital scorecards rank who skis the most vertical feet or another stat in a day, week, season, or other time period. It's an incentive for people to try and ski more each day, to get higher on the leaderboard. I'm no psychologist, but I think it's fair to say that by introducing a competitive aspect to the sport, it has attracted a new, more feral side of many skiers and snowboarders. As people try to get higher on the leaderboard, they ski faster and more recklessly. These apps have made the mountains less of a shared place of serenity and more of an individual competitive battleground. For the longest time, skiing was one of the few sports that wasn't competitive person to person. But of course, we as a society had to go and ruin it in two major ways. The first was the rise of internet shaming, all the comments insulting someone because they're a lower level skier and so on. The anonymity of the internet allows people to say things they would have never said to someone's face as they would have had to in past decades. But of course, this video is about the other, the forced competition of skiing statistics. The visual of seeing others having higher numbers subconsciously leads people to believe that they're not doing as well as those above them. Maybe they're not having as much fun, maybe they're not skiing as well, or maybe they're just competitive by nature. Regardless of the reason, it becomes a drive, whether conscious or unconscious, to get more. And more isn't always better. In December of 2021, a beloved ski coach by the name of Ron LeMaster was killed in a collision with another guest at Eldora. In April 2024, a local ski instructor by the name of Peter Worsling was killed in a collision at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. These are just two of the most notable cases, but are far from the only examples. While it hasn't been stated directly in the Eldora case, Jackson Hole made it very clear in the wake of their incident that they believed reckless speed to be the cause, one potentially induced by their vertical feet leaderboard. In January of 2025, Jackson Hole actually removed the leaderboard, citing an increase in speed-related incidents, making it, to my knowledge, the first mountain to backtrack on the idea of a leaderboard. For the ski resorts, these leaderboards and tracking apps are great. They're intrinsically incentivizing people to spend more days and more time per day on the hill. So to see a resort go against that motivation and do what it thinks is necessary for safety ought to demonstrate just how real of a problem this is. At the end of the day, tracking apps, leaderboards, and all this other blather come down to one thing: turning a relaxing sport competitive. People want to be first place. I get it. But it's starting to come at the expense of people's lives. So when I say that tracking apps have done more harm than good, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. However, that's not to say that tracking apps are all bad. There are a number of benefits to tracking apps and the overall gamification of snow sports as it relates to returning customers. Tracking apps have done a huge part in keeping people skiing. Those who might otherwise have just taken a few long weekends are now turning up on any day off they have in the vain hopes of beating out their friends on who can ski the most vert in a season. For guests themselves, they offer concrete memories that could have never been captured in that manner before. They can be used to track improvement or used to set specific health goals, potentially making the sport more fun. And when used in moderation, they can actually benefit safety by helping to guide skiers with real-time data. However, from what I've seen, it tends to be the reckless abandon in pursuit of vertical feet more often than the latter option. I know I've been rambling, and I understand my opinion on this issue has been pretty strong. App users, I'd love to hear your thoughts and stories down below. Tracking apps are just one of the many things constantly shaping the industry, so if you'd like us to take a crack at some of the others, let us know down below as well. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, please consider subscribing to help support this stream. Thank you all for watching. All my love, I'm out.